Hello, this is Tom from Never Center, and in this video I'm going to show you the new features that we've got for you in Silo 2025.2. And this one has quite a few features that I think you'll all love. The first is that we've added support for Pixar's USD format. So you can see I can load a file here that was saved in USD, and I can import and export in USD. And it does quite a good job with materials and with shading and subdivision and all of that. So do your tests and let us know if there's anything we need to tweak on that, but we think the support is quite robust so far. So that's the first big feature, support for Pixar's USD. The second one is another long requested one, which is UDIM texture support. So what this means is if I just select this guy and pop open a UV window here, you can see that this is just one model, his whole body and his head. But I've got the, in the UV space, you can see his head, the texture mapping for it is in a space next door, basically, to the texture mapping for his body. So how UDIM works is that with each different material or different part of a body, you can assign a different texture space to it. So for example, if I select his head material, you can see that in the material editor it says UDIM tile 1002. If I increase that to 1003, it would make that texture space be shown the next block over, and 1004, and so on. And then if I keep going up, it goes 10 over, and then it goes the next row above. So what this allows me to do is for this head material, and let's assign texture maps to this to make it a little bit more clear what's going on here. We'll assign this texture 2 to the head, and to the body we'll assign this texture 1. So you can see they're different colors. The head part is with the more blue and pink texture map, and the body is with this sort of red, orange, and green. But what this does, excuse me, is allows me to, for areas that I want higher resolution, I can have the whole sort of 0 to 1 UV space and just use it for those higher resolution parts like faces and whatnot. And then that can be a different texture map so that I don't have to have it all jammed into just the space for, the whole body. And so you can have a model, and you can have 100 or more of these different UDIM materials and spaces for that. And then you can just for each of those sections map out and use the entire 0 to 1 UV space. So it's very handy, like I say, for when you need multiple different resolutions on the same model. The next feature, moving right along, let's go to the viewport layout, and we've added this 3-view split layout. Now what we've put in is a feature that has been requested by a few people, which is syncing viewports. So now with viewports synced, when I move this viewport around, you can see these other two ortho viewports will sync to it. And so if I select, just some polygons and zoom in on those, these other two viewports will stay aligned. Even though this one's a perspective and these two are ortho viewports, they'll stay aligned with it. And if I go to a different layout, like let's do 3-view layout to the right, this will still work even though the viewports aren't all aligned. But if they are aligned, like these two, this one's the right and this one's the front, then whatever I've got selected here will align perfectly vertically with that one. And how they're doing this is basically in the perspective viewport, it's just saying, okay, the selection here is, it's like 75% up from the bottom, and so that will do that to each of these viewports, and it will say, okay, the selection is, 20% from the left, and then it will do those here. But effectively what that does is it just makes it so that I can do, modeling in this perspective viewport, go quickly into this ortho viewport, and it'll be the same. And then maybe I zoom out and want to go back to perspective, and then it's at the same sort of zoom level, and focuses on the same selection regardless of switching between viewports. So very handy. And like I said, requested by several people, so hopefully you all love that. The last thing I'll show for this, let me just get rid of this guy and go to a new scene. I'm going to open up the numerical editor right here. And let's just create a cylinder, big cylinder. So one thing you may notice if you use the numerical editor a lot is that we've added more units to have everything displayed. And before we had generic, metric, and English. We added centimeters, millimeters, and inches. And so in generic, it just doesn't have a unit with it. Metric, it'll express it in meters. So if I set the height to 2.5 meters, previously it would always show that. But if you want it always showing centimeters, for example, then you can just switch it to centimeters. And then even if I put in like 2.5 and type M for meters, it will convert that to centimeters. But if I just type 200 and leave it empty, then it will assume it's centimeters. But one of the features that comes with this, and just to show, like, inches is handy because, we had before feet and inches, but if you wanted everything to just stay in absolute inches, then before it would always show feet. So this can be handy if you want to just stay in inches. But one of the neat things that we've done here is we've made it so that if I type 2M for like 2 meters, then it will automatically convert that. So if I know that I want something to be 300 centimeters, I can type that even though I'm in the inches version, and it will convert that for me. So it's very handy to be able to go back and forth and to just get a lot more fine-grained control over what you're doing here. And if you know something in millimeters, but you want to see it in feet and inches or inches, then you can easily do that. So that's much more robust. There's a lot of bug fixes for this version, including things like multi-monitor support, where your monitors were at 2 different pixel resolutions, basically. Silo now should work much better in that situation. And if you still have any problems, then just let us know. But quite a few other bug fixes in this version, actually, that we're excited about. So we'll put as many of those as we can in the notes, and but I guess maybe not list every one of them. But we hope that you'll love this version, and let us know what you think in the comments, or email us at support@nevercenter.com and let us know your suggestions and feedback. Thanks.